de Tocqueville wrote about America at the time of the Revolution, about how Americans were so different than their European ancestors, how they cared about their neighbors, how they cared about their friends, how they cared about their community, and that they would come to partner in very different ways. And in a very modern way, it's amazing the partnerships that exist here between a township and a city government and a school system and a superintendent, and all the people that care about a community. And it manifests itself in the community coming together and wanting to build parks, and the community coming together and insisting that it didn't just have a library, that it had a first-class library, and that library have first-class books. And it manifests itself by the community coming together and saying, we want a performing arts center.
Diminished. Nobody had prepared me for New Albany. I didn't know what I was going to be seeing. And in a way, I'm very glad, because to have it come all at once is really an experience of a kind that I won't forget for the rest of my life. I'm very sorry my wife, Rosalie, isn't here. Boy, is she going to hear some tall tales when I get home. I want to just read 2 examples of this, and it's all coming back, believe me, to what you're doing here in New Albany, and the very idea that your New Albany Foundation's first undertaking is a library. I think if they were to come back, they would be as pleased about as much as anything. I think they would be especially pleased about our public library system. And if you think about it, our public library system is indeed one of our, if not our greatest American institution. When the little town of Nantucket burned down in the 19th century, the first building they built out of the ashes, literally, was the old Athenaeum, their public library, which still stands. And you could be sure that your public library is going to have just as much symbolic importance to this community, this extraordinary community.
Moving from rights to responsibility is absolutely the core of stable democracy. And in those responsibilities, there must be a recognition that it is not just responsibility to oneself, but responsibility to a larger community which supports that democracy. It is a recognition that not only can the strong not exploit the weak, but that democracy is only as strong as its weakest link. And in that regard, I am so proud to join you here tonight for an expression of something that is almost distinctly American. The extraordinary role of civil society, the extraordinary role of philanthropy, the extraordinary role of people giving of themselves and their resources and their time to support the arts and culture, as this foundation does, to support the environment, healthy living, and especially to support educational causes, because it is a fundamental recognition that a democracy is only as strong as its weakest link.
I can't tell you what it's like to wake up in New York City as a playwright, alone in your apartment, looking at a dismal day, thinking about how do you live as a playwright, how do you get your plays done, how can I concentrate, the phone is ringing, and suddenly I'm flown to this place where everyone's talking about community. It's the most extraordinary experience. Suddenly, I'm at this place where money is being raised for a performing arts center, and money was raised for a library, and people are talking about the wonderfulness of the schools, and I'm thinking, am I dreaming? What is going on here? This is extraordinary. And that is a community. And the strength, there is nothing like creating the strength of a community, because it is live. It is the most humane thing you can do. So to come to a place where people are talking about community in their lives and creating a new one has really, for me, just listening to you, been a uniquely uplifting experience. And I'm really grateful to everyone in this room because it's made me optimistic. And for a New Yorker, it's hard to fly somewhere. So I can't wait to go home, call my cynical, ironic friends and say, you're not going to believe this. I'm optimistic, and it's about New Albany.
I am so honored to be here tonight. I really have a feeling of what this community is all about, having spent this day here, having talked to the students this afternoon at the high school who asked remarkably good questions. And I think in our country as a whole, there's such a hunger for community, and you people have created it here. So I'm so delighted to be a small part of that this very night.
New Albany is the quintessential notion of community that has made America strong. And if you had to have a symbol of community in America since the early days of the founding, it would of course be the notion of barn raising, people coming together to raise a barn. And boy, what a barn this is. I mean, I tell you. Now, Benjamin Franklin, when he was young, as a 17-year-old runaway in Philadelphia, formed something that probably could be called the precursor of the New Albany Foundation, Community Foundation. He formed what he called his Leather Apron Club, which was a little foundation in Philadelphia of working people. And what they did was, among the other things, when they had their meetings, is they made a list of the values you should have to be good community leaders. You know, during his lifetime, Benjamin Franklin created a lot of institutions, just like the wise men did. He created, just as people in this room have, a great school for his community, the Academy for the Education of Youth, he called it. It's now called the University of Pennsylvania. The first free library, I know that one has been created here. A militia corps, because he knew that associations, foundations, communities holding together was a way that we expressed our values.
First thing I asked when I came here tonight was, has there been a serious history of New Albany and the New Albany Foundation? And I was amazed to hear no. And all I can say is you've got all these historians coming through here. The fact that you haven't gotten at least one of them to write a book on New Albany, I think there's a great opportunity for someone. But it's amazing what you've done here. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it tomorrow. But from my experience so far and what I've heard and read and seen, my instinct is to call up my wife at the end of tonight, who is with our children in D.C. We have two boys who are 13 and 15, not terribly different from the ages, I think, of at least two of Abigail and Wes's children. And I'm just going to call her up and say, how soon can we move to New Albany? Because it's a wonderful place to be. I don't think you need to.
You know, when I was invited here, I immediately went to the internet, and maybe you don't look at it because you have heard these other historians, but I looked at the YouTube videos you have up there, and I saw David McCullough and Doris Kearns Goodwin and Michael BESCHLOSS all talking about what a special place New Albany was. And then here I had this wonderful invitation, for which I thank you for. And then I wondered, could it really be that great, like they said? I've got to go out there and find out myself. So I have to tell you, I came, I saw, I listened, and they're right. This is a fabulous place, and you've got to be congratulated. It's true.